Fans from cities on both sides, the blockbuster trade weighing in on the airwaves in the last 12 to 24 hours. Let's bring in the host of the Dan Le Batard Show and highly questionable Dan Le Batard. What was your reaction when you heard this trade going down?
The player has the power again, that Kyrie Irving forced something even though he was under contract in a league where the athletes have more of the power than they do in other sports. And so what you had happen here is Cleveland had forced on them something they had to do and did the best that they could under those circumstances. I think everybody was a little surprised they were able to get this much given that they had no leverage and it seemed like they had to get rid of Kyrie Irving. So you've got a weird situation where they get rid of their star. They had to do it. They get more than they expected, but they're still worse than they were before.
Dan, we've talked about this with a few folks. I want to ask you, what do you think this trade does for LeBron's future in Cleveland?
Well, I think he's gone. I think that, this team isn't going to win. They didn't solve their defensive problems. They were great offensively yesterday, and you saw what happened in the finals. So they're in win-now mode, and Boston, curiously, has sort of put themselves in win-now mode when nobody's going to win now except the team that's winning now, because Boston's not good enough to beat Golden State either. So I think it's become clear to all of us the way that LeBron James thinks. He's got vision. He's not just going to sit there and wait for something to happen. He's making whatever his next plan is now. He knows he's got a decent idea. Unless this team really surprises him and wins the championship, he's got a decent idea of what he wants to do next. So he's going to try and build his own team next. I think that's pretty obviously where we're headed. And Cleveland's doing everything that it can to make that not so.
Yeah, and if the Cavs go into rebuild mode, having that unprotected Nets pick, people keep saying, well, D'Angelo Russell's going to make them better. Better than what, though?
Right.
You're talking about the championship and whether they can win. I'm really interested on opening night, October 17th, because it's the Cavs and the Celtics, meaning that Kyrie Irving's going to have to go back into the queue. How do you think he's going to be received by fans?
Well, Cleveland doesn't tend to be very forgiving under these circumstances. And really, truth be told, even though there is no correct way to do this, right? We said Carmelo didn't do it right. We said LeBron didn't do it right with the decision. We said Paul George didn't do it right. This is the most correct way for an athlete to do this, given that we're not going to allow them under any circumstances to do this gracefully if they play for our team. Allow them to give them enough time, do it in private. We made it not private. He tried to do it in private and give them enough time to get something in return so that you're not leaving them naked after LeBron leaves, that they're going to have, an ability to rebuild, because the greatest indictment that you can make of LeBron James, who history has proven right, is that he leaves organizations in tatters when he goes. Cleveland will be less so when he goes in a year.
I want to ask you real fast, Dan, because we've been getting reaction on the show all day long. We talked to one of our insiders who talked to someone on the Celtics, or on the Cavs, rather, who kind of had a little bit of a sour grapes moment. Talked to Dave McMenamin and was like, be careful what you wish for, Kyrie. You want it to be your show, your team. How do you think that that's going to play, in particular in a city like Boston, who will hold you to it?
Now they've got expectations in Boston. It's been a little while since they had expectations. Once they got rid of Kevin Garnett and all those guys, they were able to reduce the expectations, and that's not the case anymore. Now, all of a sudden, they're ratcheting everything up to a place where, you can make the argument that there aren't a lot of teams in the East that have that strong of a roster. So, but I think we all remember what that team looked like in Cleveland when Kyrie was there by himself without LeBron, and they weren't very good. And basically, because they weren't very good, the Cleveland Cavaliers mismanaged their way back into getting LeBron James, because they were going for the playoffs the year before LeBron James came back, where they get Luol Deng and then they don't make the playoffs and then they win the lottery balls. They did everything wrong to get LeBron James so that they could have the assets so LeBron James could get back there. And so now they've handled themselves a little bit better than they have the last, 10 years of LeBron James.
And I find one backstory here so fascinating, that Kyrie's mentor is Kobe Bryant, and we always discuss the measurement of LeBron versus Kobe, and now, you find a way for, a guy demanding a trade to leave LeBron James. How do you view Kyrie Irving from here on out with his career?
Well, he's very young, and he's won a championship, and he will have time to, whatever we say now, to make it moot. I think people forget that Kobe Bryant himself was demanding a trade from the Lakers, and the Lakers simply ignored him. They wouldn't do it because there was a time where Kobe Bryant was making a mess and saying, I want out of here. And the Lakers, unlike Cleveland, said, well, you can't go. I do think right now it's an indictment of Kyrie Irving that he doesn't want to be there, but we have time to sort this one out, right? Because I remind you that we have questioned LeBron James's decisions when he's made them over the last couple of times, and history has proven him right.